college basketball slate is absolutely loaded for Saturday, February 28th. I've got best bets in 9 of the biggest games. So get comfortable, pour yourself a drink, and let's spend the next 10 minutes together finding winners. Buckle up, Jack. You're in the jungle. Off the jump, it's the best bet for today's show, the Daily Sizzler. It's the Minnesota Golden Gophers plus 1.5 at home over UCLA. UCLA is 19-9 straight up this season, and they're 11-6 straight up in Big Ten conference play. Minnesota's below 500, just 13-15 straight up overall, and just 6-11 in Big Ten conference play. But there's a reason why the spread is near pick'em. The first reason is that these California teams don't change times and don't travel well up northeast and slightly east to OG Big Ten conference schools, and you have to wonder if they regret joining the Big Ten. The second reason is, despite their below 500 record, Minnesota has 3 straight-up victories over top 25 teams. They're feisty, and they're a tough out, especially at home. They just covered the spread and gave Michigan a tough game at Michigan. But getting back to Minnesota at home, they beat Iowa straight up. They covered the spread and lost to USC by just 1. They lost by just 3 to Wisconsin, and they beat Michigan State straight up. I like the Golden Gophers to get the win in this game, but I'll take the 1.5. If they give you 1.5 points in a near pick'em game for a price of minus 110 or better, you always take it. Minnesota plus 1.5 is today's Daily Sizzler. Virginia plus 9.5 at Duke. Duke, of course, seems invincible since their loss to North Carolina. After the big win over Michigan at a neutral site, they went into Notre Dame and beat them by 44 points. Let's look at Virginia. It's a Virginia team that's 13-2 inside ACC conference play, 8-1 straight up on the road, and they have a top 25 road win at Louisville by 9 points as a 4.5-point underdog. And what's most interesting to me about this game and this line is that Virginia is 27-1 against this number they're getting of plus 9.5. Duke has covered their end of the number, minus 9.5, in just 68% of games. They didn't cover against Texas Tech, a team that's very similar profile-wise to Virginia with their three-point shooting. Virginia is the better defensive team than Texas Tech is. I think this is more of a focus spot for Virginia than I do Duke, and I think 9.5 is too many points. Virginia makes their hay shooting threes, and Duke doesn't have a great perimeter defense. They're 11th in the ACC, allowing 8.3 3-point makes per game to opponents. I would take the 10.5 with Virginia. 9.5, I'm sorry. Louisville, minus 1.5 at Clemson. Louisville, 9-6 within the ACC, just 3-6 straight up on the road. They're a 3-point shooting team that doesn't travel well. If you remember, we were on North Carolina in one of their most recent games. We were one of the only cappers, one of the only communities who were on the Tar Heels at Chapel Hill. North Carolina beat them pretty good. Clemson, 10-5 straight up in the ACC, 11-3 straight up at home. But I don't like the current form that the Clemson Tigers are in. They've lost 4 straight games to Virginia Tech, Duke, Wake Forest, and Florida State. And although I'm not a fan of how Louisville 3-point shooting offense travels, I'm less of a fan of Clemson's current form. I think the best play in this game, the best bet, is Clemson's team total under. Kansas plus, very interesting game here. Kansas plus 8.5 at Arizona. Kansas coming off of a huge home win as a rare home underdog over Houston. And it's a revenge spot for Arizona, who lost to Kansas at Kansas by 4 February 9th. This could be a letdown spot for Kansas, and I don't love their recent consistency. Arizona scores 87.2 points per game to Kansas's 76, and their defenses are equally sound. Arizona is by far the better rebounding team and one of 2 teams in the Big 12 that has a field goal percentage over 50%, the other being the Iowa State Cyclones. Arizona's not a 3-point shooting team. They make their hay inside the paint, but the strength of Kansas's defense is their perimeter defense. They have the number 1 perimeter defense in the Big 12, not so stout down low defending the paint. I'll take the second best team in the country at home in a revenge spot over the inconsistent team in a possible flat spot. Lay the points with the Wildcats. Texas Tech plus 9.5 at Iowa State. Texas Tech has covered this number of plus 9.5 in 96% of games this season. But of course, they're without their best player, JT Toppin. It's a lot to give this offense regardless. But let's look at their losses, okay? And 4 of their 7 losses this season, they were favorites. Texas Tech is very inconsistent, tough to back. They're not a great road team either. Losses on the road straight up to Arizona State and to Central Florida in the last few weeks. And although they kept it close in their losses on the road to Illinois and to Houston, the way that they got handled at Arizona State in their most recent road game without Toppin and their 8-point road loss to Central Florida makes them very hard to back. Iowa State, in my opinion, is a national championship contender. They're top 3 in the Big 12 in both offense and defense, and they have a 17.8 point differential per game. I think the Cyclones will be too much at home for Texas Tech without JT Toppin. Lay the points with Iowa State. Let's go to the SEC. Texas plus 3.5 at Texas A&M. Texas 8-7 in SEC play, 3-5 straight up on the road. Texas A&M 9-6 within the SEC, 13-3 straight up at home. A&M beat the Longhorns on the road by 4 about a month ago, and I think they beat them again and cover this 3.5. Texas A&M takes 33 three-pointers a game and makes 11.1 of them, second only to Alabama in the conference. Of 16 teams in the SEC, the Longhorns are 14th in three-point percentage allowed to opponents, allowing 36.2% of shots to fall from beyond the arc. And a three-point shooting team at home is dangerous, familiar sightlines, familiar settings, etc. I like the higher scoring, better team here at home, minus the short number. I do free content every day on YouTube. Treat it like a menu. Take what you want and leave what you don't. If you like my very best play of the day, every day, it's yours for just $5. It's called my $5 favorite, and the link for it is in the comment section. Alabama plus 4.5 at Tennessee. The SEC's highest scoring offense against the SEC's best scoring defense. If you follow the show, Jack, you know where I'm going here. Alabama plays at a fast pace. Tennessee plays at a slow pace. When you have polar opposite styles of play, it's either the slow tempo, slow pace team, half court style offense, or the home team that dictates pace and tempo. In this situation, we have both with Tennessee. This game will be played Tennessee's way. Lay the 4.5 with the Volunteers. Let's go to the Big East, my favorite conference, and I'm 10-1 this year in Big East bets. First, we're looking at Providence, plus 1.5 at Creighton. Providence is 6-11, pardon me, inside Big East play, 2-7 straight up on the road. Creighton, 8-10 in conference play, very unpredictable, 10-5 straight up at home. Both of these teams love to shoot the three. They combine for 54 three-point attempts per game. Providence can score, Jack. They put up 87 points per game, and they also give up points. They allow 85 per game. Providence also puts opponents on the foul line. They allow 22.4 free throws per game to opponents, most in the Big East by far. That's a lot of points with the clock stopped, which is great for over bets. Providence is going to score. They're going to give up points, and Creighton is a great three-point shooting team at home. We're going over the total of 167.5 in this game. Last game we're looking at today. Villanova plus 6.5 at St. John's. St. John's beat them by 7 at Villanova January 17th. St. John's, of course, coming off the worst loss they've had under Rick Pitino, and we were on UConn in that game. After St. John's and UConn is Villanova 1B and everybody else. Villanova's a good team, and they're a tournament team. But at St. John's, after an embarrassing loss the Johnnies just suffered, is a bad spot to be in. And I'm glad St. John's is playing Villanova. I'm back in St. John's because if they were playing someone else in the Big East, the spread would be unbettable, probably more than a baker's dozen. Let's look at St. John's off of losses this year. After a loss, they won by 33, won by 17, beat Ole Miss by 5, won by 26, won by 14. Now we have this game, and what will be the biggest focus spot of the year for St. John's. Lay the 6.5 with the Red Storm. Have a great day, Jungle Nation. Put your favorite college basketball picks of the day in the comment section. And I'll see you next time with a little more money in your pocket.